While the average American household spends over $13,000 a year on food, Amish families manage to feed larger households on just $4,000. Behind their simple horse-drawn buggies lies a wealth of practical food wisdom. Habits and traditions that could completely change the way you think about eating and spending. Let's dive into the simple but brilliant food secrets that keep Amish kitchens thriving. Secret 1. Eat with the seasons. Most Americans expect tomatoes in December and strawberries in winter, even if those foods are shipped from halfway across the globe. But Amish families? They follow nature's schedule. Around 70 to 80% of their meals come from foods that are either freshly grown or recently preserved. If it's not in season, it's probably not on the table. While your average American meal travels 1,500 miles from farm to plate, Amish food often travels just a few yards, from their garden to their kitchen. That means no expensive out-of-season produce and no fancy packaging or transport fees. It's fresh, local, and cheap, just like nature intended. Secret 2. The perpetual soup pot. Here's something wild. Americans throw away almost 40% of their food every year, about $1,500 per person. The Amish? They turn scraps into gold. In many Amish homes, there's a large soup pot always simmering on the stove. It never fully empties. Instead, vegetable peels, meat bones, leftover bits, everything that might get tossed, goes into this endless broth. This age-old practice means less waste and more flavour, and it can save a family between $45 and $60 every month. And yes, the soup tastes better the longer it cooks. Secret 3. Bulk buying, Amish style. While we think of warehouse clubs as modern, Amish communities have been buying in bulk together for generations. They don't shop for £5 bags of flour. They buy 50-pound sacks directly from mills, often saving 30 to 40% off retail prices. How? Through community buying groups. Several families pool their orders and share supplies. No big box stores. No electricity-hungry freezers. Instead, they use root cellars, cool underground storage rooms that stay between 32 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, thanks to natural geothermal insulation. No electricity required. Secret 4. One fuel, many jobs. Most American households spend nearly $300 a month on cooking and refrigeration energy. The Amish? They use a wood-fired cook stove, and it does everything. This single stove can boil water, simmer stew, warm dough, dry herbs, even heat the entire home, all at the same time. Because it multitasks, this system slashes cooking energy costs from over $1,100 a year to just $350 or less. That's less than 1/3 of what most families pay. These are just the first few secrets behind the Amish kitchen, proof that simplicity, tradition, and community can save you thousands, nourish your family, and reconnect you to the natural rhythm of food. And trust me, we're just getting started. We've talked about soup pots and wood stoves. Now let's go deeper into how Amish families preserve food, stretch ingredients, and make every part of an animal count. These aren't just old tricks. They're time-tested systems that help Amish families save thousands every year. And they can work for you too. Secret 4. Fermentation, nature's refrigerator. While most of us rely on giant refrigerators and chest freezers to keep food from spoiling, the Amish turn to something ancient, reliable, and completely free. Fermentation. Fermentation doesn't just keep food from going bad, it transforms it. Think beyond sauerkraut. The Amish ferment. Vegetables, dairy grains, even fruit-based drinks, and they don't need electricity to do it. Their techniques can turn a seasonal surplus into months of shelf-stable nutrition. No canning, no freezing, no spoilage. For example, a gallon of fresh milk can become kefir, yogurt, or Clabber cheese, which lasts 3 to 4 weeks without refrigeration. Fermented vegetables can last 6 to 8 months in a cool pantry. Fruit-based drinks hold onto nutrients long after the harvest. Even better, many of their ferments are built on mother cultures, like sourdough starters, passed down through generations. That means no store-bought yeast, no fancy gadgets, and no repeat costs. This one tradition alone can save an Amish family $600 to $800 a year, all while boosting gut health and cutting waste. Secret 5. The magic of multi-purpose ingredients. Walk into a modern kitchen and you'll find dozens of single-use ingredients. But Amish kitchens, they run on just a handful of essentials. Their cooking philosophy revolves around 7 core staples: flour, sugar, salt, lard, molasses, baking soda, and vinegar. That's it. From these, they create breads, dumplings, sauces, desserts, cleaners, even remedies. Flour becomes bread, noodles, pie crusts, and gravy thickeners. Vinegar is used to preserve food, flavour stews, clean surfaces, or treat minor ailments. Sugar and molasses bring sweetness to everything from baked goods to sauces. No need to buy honey, syrup, or fancy sugar blends. Even fat is made in-house. Amish families render lard from butchered animals, cutting their fat expenses from over $200 to under $100 a year. And instead of buying endless spice blends, they stick to the basics. Whole spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, pepper, mustard, and cloves. Used smartly to build bold flavour without a crowded spice rack. All of this keeps their annual spice cost between $35 and $50, compared to the $120 to $180 most Americans spend. Secret 6. The whole animal economy. Here's a truth bomb. Most Americans only eat about 12 cuts of meat, which is just 60% of what's actually edible on an animal. The Amish, they don't waste a thing. They use 90 to 95% of each animal. That's almost every bone, organ, and scrap. It all starts with home butchering, usually a communal event where families gather, help one another, and divide up meat based on size and need. But instead of grinding up lesser-known cuts into mystery meat, the Amish use each piece for a purpose. Shanks go into stews. Organs are turned into pâtés or sausages. Bones become rich broths. Fat is rendered into lard skins, and odd cuts are often cured or smoked. This nose-to-tail approach stretches every dollar and honours the animal, something deeply rooted in Amish values. From fermenting milk to using every ounce of a cow, the Amish show us that frugality doesn't mean sacrifice. It means being smarter with what you already have. Let's keep digging into the brilliant simplicity of Amish kitchens. This time, we're looking at how they use every part of an animal, render their own fats, and make bread the centre of everything. These aren't just frugal habits. They're smart, sustainable systems that save money, reduce waste, and boost flavour. Even the parts most people throw away become valuable in an Amish kitchen. Fat is turned into lard or tallow bones, become rich, mineral-packed broth. Organs go into specialty dishes. Even pig's feet and chicken combs, pickled or used in soups. It's what's called a nose-to-tail approach, and it's pure genius. Let's do some math. Buying a whole hog at $3.50 per pound may sound pricey, until you realise they use nearly everything. The effective cost drops to around $1.85 per pound, almost 50% in savings. But it's not just about saving. This approach also shapes how Amish families plan meals. Fresh cuts like liver are eaten right away. Larger cuts like ham get cured for later bones and odd bits, simmered for soups, stews, and broths. This natural rotation builds variety into their meals without extra trips to the store. A single butchered animal can yield up to 200 meals, costing as little as $1.20 to $1.50 per serving, far less than the typical $3.50 to $4.50 most Americans spend. Secret 7. The rendered fat economy. While the rest of the world is watching cooking oil prices rise, up more than 30% in recent years, the Amish are working with a totally different system. They rely on a self-sustaining fat economy built around one powerful skill: animal fat rendering. Here's how it works. After butchering, they slowly melt down animal fat using low heat. The liquid fat is then strained and stored. It becomes lard, tallow, schmaltz, even butter. And unlike store-bought oils, this regenerates every time they butcher. Amish families have mastered fat specialization: lard, pork fat, for baking and frying; tallow, beef fat, for high-heat cooking; schmaltz, chicken fat, for rich flavor; butter for pastries and special recipes. Properly stored, these fats last 6 to 12 months, even without refrigeration. That means no need to stock up on commercial oils or worry about shelf life. This practice alone saves $300 to $400 a year per household. And here's the bonus: they taste better. Lard makes flakier pie crusts than shortening. Tallow gives roasted veggies a caramelized edge. Even leftovers have purpose. Pork cracklings are added to breads. Tallow solids enrich sauces. Cheesecloth soaked in fat becomes a fire starter. It's a near zero waste system with high flavour and low cost. Secret 8. Bread as the daily cornerstone. In most homes today, bread is store-bought, mass-produced and expensive, costing around $3.55 per loaf. But in Amish households, bread baking is still a core ritual, and it goes far beyond just loaves. Baking isn't just a task. It's a foundation for multiple meals. A typical Amish household bakes bread twice a week, and one session produces loaves for sandwiches, rolls for dinner, pie crusts for desserts, pizza bases, even breakfast items, all from one master dough. That dough costs just about 60 cents per pound to make. No fancy equipment, no preservatives, just flour, water, yeast, salt, and time. By treating bread as the centerpiece instead of a side item, Amish families stretch their budget, reduce processed food intake, and create meal versatility from one simple recipe. The Amish show us that cooking fat, baking bread, and using every part of an animal isn't old-fashioned. It's future-proof. These systems are more efficient, more delicious, and way more affordable than most of what we do today. What makes Amish bread making especially clever is how it's woven into the daily rhythm of the home. Here's the trick. Bread baking is timed to match the days when the wood-fired cook stove is already hot, whether for heating the home, boiling water, or cooking dinner. That way, they're not burning extra fuel. They're using what's already there. And the dough? It's like magic. One batch becomes many things. The softest sandwich loaves, dinner rolls for Sunday supper, pizza crust for a quick weekday meal, and even cinnamon rolls. Just add preserves and spices. Even scraps and leftovers aren't wasted. Young dough turns into pancakes or fry bread. Stale bread becomes breadcrumbs, croutons, or bread pudding. That's multiple meals from one master dough. No fancy mixers, no special flour blends, just skill, timing, and smart use of resources. But here's what really changes the game. Meal planning with bread at the centre. While most modern meals revolve around expensive protein like meat or fish, the Amish flip that idea on its head. They build meals around bread. Warm loaves, rolls, dumplings, with smaller portions of protein, cheese, or preserves on the side. It's affordable, filling, and surprisingly balanced. So instead of a $12 steak dinner, imagine homemade soup with thick dumplings, a slice of bread with cheese and pickled vegetables, fresh bread with homemade apple butter. Not only are these meals nourishing, they often cost pennies per serving. The savings add up fast. A family baking just 2 loaves a week saves between $520 to $780 annually compared to store-bought bread. But that's not all. When you include everything else made from the same dough, pizza crusts, rolls, sweet buns, total savings can easily top $1,100 a year. And remember, this is all with just one basic dough recipe, varied only by how it's handled and baked. Secret 9. The power of communal labor. Now let's talk about something even more powerful than bread: community. In modern kitchens, food prep has become a solo task. You're alone at the counter, rushing to get dinner done after work. But the Amish do things differently and smarter. They maintain communal labor systems, traditions where neighbours and extended families come together to share the work. Here's how it works. Families team up to butcher animals, can vegetables, or bake large batches. Tasks like shelling peas, prepping pickles, or baking pies are done in groups. Even young children participate, learning skills while lightening the load. This shared labour creates economies of scale. Instead of each household doing everything alone, they divide the work and reap the benefits together. And it's not just about saving time. It builds stronger relationships, better food because many hands make better work, and a deep sense of pride and purpose. So whether it's turning one dough into 5 meals or turning work into community, the Amish prove that simplicity isn't just beautiful, it's brilliant. If bread is the daily hero in an Amish home, community is the silent superpower behind everything. Let's talk about something the modern world has nearly forgotten: the work frolic. No, it's not a party with cake, though it does often end with pie. In Amish life, a work frolic is a scheduled communal workday where multiple families come together to tackle big, labour-intensive food jobs as a team. And what seems like hard work, they turn it into something joyful, efficient, even fun. Imagine harvest season hits. Say, the green beans are ready, and there are bushels of them, more than one family could ever handle alone. Instead of one exhausted mom peeling, trimming, blanching and canning late into the night, 8 families join forces. It's all hands on deck. One group washes the beans, another trims the ends, others pack jars. A final team mans the water bath canners. They create a living assembly line, like a well-oiled machine. Only this one is run on teamwork and tradition. The result? They process food 60% faster than a single household could, and capture it at its peak freshness, which means better taste, better nutrition, and longer shelf life. Here's the brilliant part. These work frolics aren't just about labour. They share expensive tools too. Instead of every home owning a commercial-grade apple grinder, giant 30-gallon copper kettle, butchering saws, or an industrial-sized dough mixer, they pool resources and share equipment only when it's needed. That means each family avoids spending $1,500 to $2,000 on gear they'd only use a few times a year. That's smart money. And it gets better. When 8 families preserve tomatoes together, they don't buy canning jars by the dozen. They buy them by the pallet directly from suppliers. The cost? 40% to 50% cheaper than what you'd pay at a big box store. Same goes for salt, vinegar, sugar, spices. All purchased in bulk at wholesale rates, splitting the cost and maximising value for everyone. Learning by doing, not by reading. Here's something you can't measure in dollars: knowledge. At every work frolic, children and young adults watch and help. Learning how to can vegetables, smoke meat, render lard, or make apple butter in massive old-school copper kettles. And they're not being lectured. They're learning by doing, side by side with elders who pass down skills naturally, without YouTube or cookbooks. This is how traditions survive, not on paper, but in practice. And finally, some preservation jobs are just too big for one family. Smoking hundreds of pounds of meat or stirring a massive kettle of apple butter over an open flame. That's only possible when you work together. That's what makes the Amish food system not just efficient, but sustainable, intergenerational, and incredibly smart. So while we rush through solo meal preps and microwave dinners, the Amish slow down and team up to build food systems that feed, teach, and unite. Secret 10. How the Amish turn one meal into three. In most modern kitchens, leftovers are just that. Leftovers. Something forgotten in the back of the fridge, destined for the trash, or eaten half-heartedly the next day. But in an Amish kitchen, there's no such thing as waste, because they don't just reheat yesterday's food. They transform it. Cook once, eat 3 times. While most of us follow the cook once, eat once lifestyle, Amish families use what you could call a planned transformation system, where today's dinner is already designed to become tomorrow's lunch and the next day's soup. It's not just repurposing, it's culinary strategy. Take Sunday's roasted chicken, for example. Day 1, roasted chicken with potatoes and gravy. Day 2, the leftover meat becomes chicken noodle casserole. Day 3, the bones and scraps turn into a rich chicken soup. Nothing wasted. Each version feels like a new dish, but it's all part of a larger plan. What makes the Amish approach powerful is the intention behind it. This isn't, what do we do with the leftovers? It's meal sequencing passed down through generations. Some examples: roasted root vegetables, serve them hot with dinner, then chop into hash for breakfast, and toss the rest into soup by day 3. Bread? First it's fresh, then it's toasted, later it's turned into croutons, and finally it becomes the base for a hearty bread pudding. This cycle saves time, saves money, and keeps meals interesting. No one's bored, and no food gets tossed. When there's too much, preserve it all during harvest season. Amish gardens can overflow with more produce than a family can eat fresh. But again, nothing is wasted. A single crop gets split into multiple preservation methods. Tomatoes? Some become sauce, some are pickled, some are sun-dried. Apples? Eaten fresh, baked into pies, pressed into cider, or cooked down into apple butter. This creates a pantry full of variety, all from one harvest. Think about it. Every transformation stretches ingredients, lowers your grocery bill, and reduces prep time. It's not just thrifty, it's genius. For example, a home-smoked ham, a specialty product, costs the Amish just $1.85 to $2.25 per pound to produce at home. Commercially, that same ham would run you $8 to $12 per pound. That's up to 80% in savings, and it tastes better too. So while the rest of us toss out a third of our food and struggle to plan meals, the Amish quietly turn every dish into a story, evolving over days, saving money, saving effort, and bringing satisfaction to the table. The Amish way of eating isn't just about old-fashioned charm. It's a masterclass in food wisdom, rooted in simplicity, community, and respect for every ingredient. While the average modern family overspends and wastes nearly half their food, the Amish feed larger households on a fraction of the cost, all without electricity, fast food, or apps. Their secrets, from perpetual soup pots to whole animal cooking, communal labor, and bread-centered meals, offer powerful lessons for anyone looking to save money, reduce waste, and eat with intention. You don't need to live like the Amish to learn from them. Start small, plan a meal transformation, buy in bulk with friends, bake your own bread. One step at a time, and your kitchen could become a little more like theirs. Enjoyed this breakdown? Hit like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs a simpler, smarter way to feed their family. The food revolution starts right at home.